Just do
Okay, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the First Five Sacramento Commission for Monday, February 6, 2017. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll and establish quorum?
Dave Gordon.
Here.
Beth Hassett.
Here.
Terrence Jones.
Here.
Olivia Kassiri. Paul Lake.
Here.
Scott Moak.
Here.
Phil Cerna.
Here.
Donna Sneringer. Steve Wertz. Lee Turner Johnson.
Here.
Kathy Kosick. Terry Porter.
Here.
Christina Elliott.
Here.
Patrick Kennedy. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you.
This meeting of the First Five Sacramento Commission is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Wednesday, February 8th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. Members of the audience wishing to address the board may sign a request slip at the kiosk located in the back of the room. Please bring that slip to the staff member seated behind me, and please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. If you have any electronic devices, please put them on silence now or turn them off. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Aaron Murray, will you please do us the honor of leading us in the pledge today, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. I noticed there are some folks here in chambers with us this afternoon. Welcome. Again, as a reminder, if you wish to address this commission, you're certainly welcome to do so. We have speaker slips located, I think, near the lectern and also at the back of chambers. Please complete those forms. If you wish to address us, give it to our clerk, and you'll be called in the order I receive them. You're also welcome to address this commission on any item that is not posted on our agenda. And we do have a 3-minute limit so that everyone has a chance to address us if they so choose. So with that, our first item, please.
Item 1, approve December 5th, 2016 draft action summary.
Okay, any questions from commissioners? Not entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Lake. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Good, thank you. Next item, please.
Item 2, public comments on non-agenda items.
Okay, as was just noted, you're welcome to address this commission on any item not on the agenda. I don't see anyone approaching the lectern, nor do I have speaker slips, so we will move on to the next item, please.
Item 3, executive director's report.
All right, Julie, you're up.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I thought I would go through quick highlights of the 2016 policy review and expectations for 2017. As you know, 2016 was a pretty good year for First Five and for children and families. A couple of policy changes were made either through the legislation, through the state budget, or through voter propositions that impacted children. Starting with the 2016-17 budget, we saw a commitment to increasing child care reimbursement rates, the addition of nearly 9,000 preschool slots over the next several years, the repeal of the maximum family grant, and the establishment of a Blue Ribbon Commission on Early Care and Education. Our own Assembly member Kevin McCarty will co-chair the Blue Ribbon Commission, so that's pretty exciting for us. As far as special sessions and legislation went, there were 3 new bills passed that had immediate impacts on Proposition 10. The first, as you know, increased the smoking age to 21. The second established that electronic devices, including e-cigarettes, are considered tobacco products, which paved the way for Prop 56. And it established adequate funds for the tobacco licensing enforcement program to ensure that our Prop 10 dollars didn't have to be redirected there. And so finally, 2 voter propositions were passed that directly affected early care and education. We had Prop 55, which extended California's income tax on the highest earners for the next 12 years. Good news there. And Prop 56, which was the increase of the $2 tobacco tax. So lots of action at the state level last year, but off to kind of a rocky start, I'd say, for the 2017-18 budget. Governor Brown released his budget proposal on January 10th. This was the day before our convening. And the proposed budget includes pausing the increases in child care slots and provider rates that were promised in last year's budget. So we are watching this closely. We used this as an opportunity to advocate when we were at the Capitol last week for Advocacy Day. We'll keep you informed about that.
Excuse me, Julie, you have
Yes.
a question from Dr. Jones?
Sure.
Actually, more of a comment. We were very disappointed in the governor's released budget proposal where he took the Prop 56 money and as it was passed by the voters and took it away from, the oral health and the provider rates and placed it back into the general fund. That's the proposal. So that's a major problem for California dentists and for the oral health in general. So we're very concerned about that. Also, our understanding is the Children's Dental Disease Prevention Program that was just released this year and was provided some funding for that program. It's been on, it's been not funded since 2009, and it provides about $3.2 million to reinstate that California program. That, as our understanding, is off the budget as well. So both of them had dire effects on this current state budget. So I would appreciate, we are going to, at the California Dental Association, the local group, we're advocating along with California Medical Association to continue and sequester the money that was part of Prop 56, put it back in.
That's really good for us to know, and we'll certainly address that through our Policy Advocacy and Sustainability Committee too, and make sure we get that message out. Thank you. And so finally, last year, Congress passed the Every Student Succeeds Act, which has a different approach to early childhood education. It provides an opportunity for school districts to use ESSA funding for children 0 to 5. So this is new and a potential opportunity for us to, again, have those conversations with our districts and others around using that money. I touched upon Advocacy Day. So First Five's Association's annual Advocacy Day took place last week at the state capitol. We were well represented with Commissioners Porter, Elliott, Sneeringer, and some staff. And then we met with 10 legislators or their staff and really hit them pretty hard with the governor's budget, our declining revenue situation, our key investment areas, what we are investing in. And then for those who were at our First Five convening, Putting Kids First, we really thanked them and used it as an opportunity to follow up with them. So it was, I thought, a pretty wonderful day. The evening before that was the Champions for Children's reception, hosted by the First Five Association, First Five California, and First Five LA. And that event was to recognize legislators who were doing good by investing in children. And thanks to Commissioner Cerna, Wirtz, Sneeringer, yes, Turner Johnson. Thank you all for coming to that event. And I thought if you all wanted to chime in or say anything, feel free to do so. I thought both events were pretty wonderful.
I will just say that having attended the reception the night before the day at the Capitol, it was a great opportunity to talk to a number of other commissioners from elsewhere in the state, a number of other executive directors, to just kind of get a good kind of anecdotal sense of whether or not this commission is doing some, fulfilling some similar objectives. And it was a bit of war story sharing going on, but I thought it was actually a very good reception, not just for the camaraderie, but to actually share some ideas. I know it wasn't really a formal brainstorming session or workshop like we have here in this setting, but good to know that others around the state are focused on their respective declining budgets, how to do more with less, and that seemed to be kind of a theme. And people are raring to go the next day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would just add that I really was impressed with the number of statewide elected officials that attended, including the Speaker of the Assembly. And it was nice to see so many people out, and I thought really a representation of how much support there is for young kids in our current elected group. I also thought that the visits went really well, and that we're very fortunate that we have some very strong champions for young kids in our delegation. And I think that we had a very good conversation with Senator Pan, who's now got a budget subcommittee assignment where he'll see many issues that we're concerned about. And as a former commissioner, he's obviously very interested in what we're thinking.
Yep.
Commissioner Elliott, and I just remind commissioners, if you could please punch in to speak so I can get you in order.
So as you guys know, last year I brought Adeline because childcare fell through for me, so it wasn't planned, and it was scary, and I did not know how bad it was going to go, and it ended up going really well, and she really enjoyed it. She was 3.5 last year. And so this year, talked to Julie and Aaron, and we said, okay, well, we'll bring her again, because it actually ended up being really good optically, and then as well, for Adeline. And it also for me was a way to explain to legislators that we have families, and I work full time, and my reality is I'm also a mom. And so as they start to address some of these broader policy issues that we talk to them about, also showing them that family work-life balance is really critical, and taking that to account. We don't want to over-legislate businesses or anything, but we really do have to appreciate the fact that we are not just robots that go to work 9 to 5, and that we have extenuating circumstances in many respects. So, and I think in side conversations kind of mentioned that, but also tried to paint a picture that all of these programs and services we provide really are critical to our community. So I thought it went really well, and I'm really grateful that you guys let me bring Adeline again. It's really good for her. So thank you.
She's our secret weapon. They loved her.
Commissioner Porter?
Yeah, again, I echo what has already been said, but also want to add that everybody was really engaged. We are lucky. They were very, very engaged. Children and family are important to them. It wasn't I've been in other places where it's, an obligatory listen. It didn't feel that way. They were very much engaged and wanted to know what they could do to help. We also offered, for them to come, invited them to come and to actually see the investments in their area, and they're very interested in that. So it was very, very well received and very good, a very good investment of our time.
Thank you.
Okay, just a couple more things to highlight on. I made my ED report a little longer this time because we didn't have a lot to cover in the agenda. Moving on to local things, as you know, we had our Putting Kids First, a First Five convening on January 11th. The event opened and closed with the leadership of Commissioner Cerna, sort of setting the stage and providing next steps. Commissioner Moak did a fantastic job of emceeing this event for us. Really,
everybody laugh at that.
You MC?
Spectacular.
That's not what that was.
Okay.
We had 4 elected officials. Our assembly members came, Cooper, Cooley, and McCarty, and then we had a staffer for Senator Pan's office. But we had the right people in the audience. We had our local elected officials. We had a good turnout from our Board of Supervisors. We had school board members, some Sacramento City Council representatives, the executive or the department heads from many of our Sacramento County departments. It was just a really great turnout and a really great opportunity to talk to them about what First Five is doing, the importance of investing early, and really our need to start these conversations about what we're going to do with our fiscal cliff and how we can partner in the future. So we had over 125 participants were there. It was really a full house, and very nice, and thank you so much for all of you for coming and helping us plan it. The Sustainability Committee helped us plan this, but I really appreciate it. I thought it was a great start.
And certainly I want to make sure I thank our staff, you, Julie, and Aaron especially, and others that were doing the best you can in some instances to mitigate the possibility of the event going a little sideways with some technical difficulties.
Yes.
But that happens, and it was, I think, a very successful event, thanks to your help and all the planning that you just mentioned that went into the event. I think it hopefully will be one of several meetings we continue to have in the community to ensure that we don't lose sight of what is not just the charge of this commission, but I would argue of all local government, our nonprofit community, private enterprise here in our county and in our region to collectively ensure that the next future generation of Sacramentans, and I think did a great job with the video emphasizing that that's exactly what we're talking about. The kids 0 to 5 in our community are going to be our next leaders, our next physicians, our next scientists, and we really do have a need to collectively invest in them. And I can kind of feel like there's a lot more people, agencies, organizations standing behind First Five these days. Okay. Mr. Moak.
Thanks. I too want to echo, it was pretty impressive to see you guys rally so quickly to make something of that magnitude so meaningful for all those people. I felt like everybody coming out of that event was very moved by what they heard and how they feel like maybe now they can think about things in a different way or get involved in a different way and take some leadership and ownership of some of the direction that's possible. I would say, one thing I heard from people both kind of towards the end or at the end afterwards and then since has just been like build on that momentum and like stay on it. And so I feel like even like potentially I might suggest that as part of your monthly overview of what you provide, maybe if we could just segment out what the steps are that are kind of that have happened, are set to happen, just so we can really keep it top of mind, because I feel like, I know Donna and others are steeped within the policy conference kind of concept where you're bringing people together and urging for change in one way or another, but I feel like that was an impressive room. I mean, I echo what Mr. Cerna said, that that was a really impressive group of people, a very broad array of the right people in that room, and so just being able to capitalize on that and take advantage of next steps, I feel like keeping it in front of people's minds is going to be our key.
Yes, I already had traction on some of this. Thanks to Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon was one of our presenters, talking a little bit about LCF, local control funding formula. A couple of the supervisors, superintendents have already expressed some interest in discussions, and their school readiness coordinators were able to bring to the districts requests now, and so we're getting closer on this, on our ability to have this conversation where when we step in and say, let's use some of that funding for early learning and let's redirect or reprioritize. It's definitely not coming from left field. They've heard the message, and there seems to be a little bit of opening. And I give a lot of kudos to Commissioner Gordon for setting that in motion.
He was great, and his presentation was spot on. So.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. In other news, the River Oaks Center for Children, the new the Family Resource Center, switched locations. They're now up and running in the Fruit Ridge Community Collaborative, and they had a wonderful grand opening last week. Commissioner Cerna cutting the ribbon on the ground.
Trying to cut the ribbon.
You tried to cut the ribbon.
Yeah, those darn scissors weren't very sharp. So.
They were fake scissors. It was a problem, but there was a lot of photo opportunity because it took so long to cut the ribbon.
Right.
There were a lot of photos. But so thank you for leading that effort. I think they're in a great place. It was a perfect location for them, and if any of you get a chance to go out and visit, I would really recommend you do so and see what that looks like in operation. Yep. Finally, almost, we have a commission staffing update. You'll notice that this is not Kim Kenzer sitting up here for the first time in about 10 years. We've been joined by Eric Harold. He is an Administrative Services Officer Level 3 and is new to the commission, but not new to the county. He's been with the county for about 16 years and 22 years.
Don't get that wrong.
Okay. We stole him away from Dr. Casserier, and we thank her for him very much. It's still a sore subject,
Right on
but
Glad to share.
okay, thank you. Two last things. In a budget update, just wanted to let you know we are working on streamlining the commission operations. Those on the financial Planning Committee will tell you that we've moved from 6 meetings a year down to, or from 6 meetings a year down to 4 meetings a year. And the commissioners, you will see our budget twice per year instead of 3 times a year. You'll get the recommended budget in May and a final approved budget in August. We're eliminating the February review section. It just seemed like it was a little bit too redundant. So, working toward efficiency there, and our 2017 long-range calendar is attached to the back of your packet. And I'm going to let Erin talk briefly on communications.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. What debuted at the First Five convening was the future of the First Five Sacramento video. Now, it wasn't debuted in its entirety, but it will be today. And for those that you haven't seen it, you'll see that this video was developed with Sagent, and it was narrated by Supervisor Cerna, and it embraces what a great place Sacramento County is to live, work, and play. And it talks about the declining First Five revenues. Several local organizations contributed to this footage, which is called B-roll, which puts it all together. It's kind of all streamed together. And I would like to thank Metro Cable for providing that footage, and also the King's Foundation for the aerial shot of the Golden One Center. And at the end of the video, you'll see the play card that just shows the collaboration of all the organizations in Sacramento County that helped put this video together. So please roll the video.
Living in Sacramento County means being part of a remarkable, diverse community. We are a community that values economic growth, local agriculture, entertainment venues for families, education, children. Sacramento County is an ideal place to live, work, play, and raise a family. Like our nation's farm to fork capital, I'm Sacramento grown and raised, and I'm Sacramento proud. But where do we go from here? What is our future, and how do we get there? It begins with children. They are the key to securing a bright future for Sacramento County and our beautiful state, and we need to invest in them early in their lives. With 90% of brain development in the first 5 years, we need to support this learning curve to help our children reach their fullest potential as future elected officials, doctors, teachers, farmers, and as parents themselves one day. They will be the leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs of Sacramento County, our state, and our nation. First Five Sacramento is leading the way and is committed to this goal of putting children first with preventative and early education programs for our young and most vulnerable. Since 1999, First Five Sacramento has invested $287 million into local programs that nurture healthy and successful children. But First Five funds statewide are rapidly declining, and in Sacramento County alone, we expect a 40% funding reduction by 2023. This means that critical life-changing programs for families and young children will lose valuable resources, leaving many children behind before they even start kindergarten. Now is the time for our policymakers, stakeholders, business leaders, and community members to come together here at the state capitol, as well as in Washington, D.C., to be the voice for our children. When we come together and advocate for families and children, we are helping to keep Sacramento family-friendly and strong. Let's protect and enhance every child's potential and invest in programs that promote their development. They are counting on us, and we are counting on them. Face for radio.
Currently, the video lives on the First Five Sacramento YouTube page, and it is also running on Metro Cable. and it is also on the Sacramento County's YouTube page. And we encourage you to post this video on your organization's social media and share this video. And it was a super fun project to make.
And thanks to you, Aaron. That was a really a great experience working with you and the video producer. And if anyone here ever has the opportunity to be directed by Ms. Murray, I suggest you take her up on that. Yeah, I learned a lot.
Good. One last thing that I'd like to highlight is our social engagement. We've been working with the partner with the GRID agency, and you will see that we've highlighted our activity throughout 2016. And our presence is on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram. And I am delighted to say that First 5 Sacramento now has over 10,000 likes and viewers. And last but not least, I'd like to share our outreach event that's coming up. It's our second annual Pride and Joy Community Baby Shower. I believe in your packet that you have a flyer. This is working with Sac Healthy Baby. It is to celebrate Black History Month. It is on February 25th from 11 to 2 at the Oak Park Community Center, which is a new location for us. And if any of you have attended this before, it is a great community event that targets pregnant or new African American mothers that had a baby within the 6 months. And it's really great to see the families come out. We provide all the resources in the community, along with a lot of giveaways and raffle prizes for them. So it's a really great turnout. I hope to see you there.
Aaron, do we have that in digital form too, so we can do the same with this as we would the video sharing through our various social media channels?
There's a video recap that we have from last year that I've been using to promote it, but we have it in a JPEG, just the flyer itself.
Yeah, I think that would be.
You want that?
It would be helpful for me if I had it in that form.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And that concludes the communications report. Is there any questions?
Mr. Warts.
Thank you. Just a question on the video. It's impressive, and I'm wondering about whether you have thought about going to the traditional TV stations and asking them as either a PSA or as part of a broader story with them.
We haven't gone in that direction due to budgetary constraints, but what the video does is help us to work on outreach to follow up with the video in conjunction with the convening to push the message of the declining First 5 revenues. But it has been used as a marketing tool. I just don't think that it will get that sort of airtime.
It's probably worth the question, though, to some of those stations that give, obviously, that when organizations have some kind of PSA, that, you know, granted, sometimes they play at 2 in the morning, but that's not to say that's not a good time for some of our audience and people who are needing to hear some of that message. The thing I would say about it, though, is it would likely have to be recut because of the length. It would have to be shorter. But it's not a bad idea. I mean, I think it's worth a conversation to many of our, to our local broadcast partners, at least to ask the question.
Definitely we'll look into that. For right now, it's airing on our wonderful Metro Cable, Channel 14.
Thank you.
That concludes our report.
Thank you. Any overall questions for Julie about her executive director's report? Okay, great. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 4, First 5 Association update with Moira Kenny.
Great, thank you.
I can
Clicker.
That does
Awesome.
work.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's fantastic to be here. I feel like I know a lot of you from other settings and from Advocacy Day and the reception. And those of you I haven't had a chance to meet before, thank you for having me here today. First 5 Sacramento is an incredibly important commission for all of us in the state, and the work that you have been doing to think about, well, first really communications a few years ago. We started working more closely with Aaron, but more recently and more importantly, the work that we've been doing around policy and advocacy engages with you and with Julie so intensely. And I just want to thank you all for taking the steps that you have to think about your future and to set up your Policy, Advocacy, and Sustainability Commission. And I do hope to be working with all of you in the year to come. So I am here today.
Not working?
I'm not sure what to do.
I could in there.
Someone's going to help you here.
I could click any one of these buttons.
Looks like, there you go.
There it is. Okay. And I don't have an intro slide because I was told you have a 10-slide limit, which is really great. So I am here today really to talk to you about a couple things. One, to talk about the role of the association. I want to remind you that the First Five Association, which was established in 1998 when the proposition passed with support from many of the foundations across the state, is now fully supported by membership dues and in fact, an increase in membership dues this year. So we really do appreciate the commitment that commissions have made to working with the association to propel the First Five movement. I also want to remind you that we are primarily an association that meets with executive directors, but we are an association of commissioners. So we do have the opportunity to meet with you from time to time. I encourage you all to think of ways that we can creatively work with you as colleagues on this work together. And in fact, I did write down at one point, I know that the Sacramento region did meet commissioners last year, and that was a fantastic event. I'm thinking about commissioners who are on policy committees would be a great thing to do. So I'm here to talk to you about the association, to sort of introduce myself, to talk about the work that we do, but to really introduce to you some of the phrasing and approach that we're taking when we talk with, whether it's legislators, other associations, other commissions, really our allies across the state as we think about the future of First Five. And I hope that this will resonate with some of you, and I also just welcome all of your comments and questions. So as you know, as your video itself presented, the decline is topmost for all of us, and increasingly topmost for our legislators and for the administration. But I want to reframe this from a discussion about decline to a discussion about really the emerging sustained role of First Fives across the state. So as you all know, we were passed in 1998 with a tax on cigarettes. But I want to point you to the role of the First Five statute in defining our job, both our job in local level and both at the state. The statute does not say at the very top, First Five shall spend its money to fund direct services in every community in California. The First Five statute actually calls on all of you to work with your staff to develop integrated systems of care for children 0 to 5 in concert with your other county departments. So the first three things that you are called on to do as a commission are to do needs assessments and strategic plans, to focus on service innovation, improving access and quality in all areas of children's services, and to make sure that you evaluate and present good data on the work that you do. Those are all come in the statute before it ever says, and you're going to fund a family resource center or a preschool or a health service. Because as our funding declines, but even if our funding weren't declining, the most important thing we can do is to make sure that government public programs are easily accessible for the children and families of California. Understandably, counties focus on and were incentivized by the State Commission to fund direct services, and now we are very happy to say that nearly 25% of California children receive some kind of service from First Five, but more light touch than intensive. Our job, both now and in the years to come, is really about this system's work. So here's our version of this slide, which is that First Five revenue has declined more than 30% since 2000, and as you say in your video, 40% just after the end of the decade. But I like to remind commissions not to focus on the decline, but to focus on the fact that at the very beginning of our journey, at the top of the chart, we never generated more than $215 per kid. We never had more than 215. We are going to be at 125 by the end of the decade, and that's not very much money either. But we really never had enough money to pay our way, to buy our way to a better system. It has to be in collaboration. And a nice number that I get to use, and I look to my early education colleagues at the right hand of the, at stage right for me, the comparison that we often use when we're working in the Capitol is that Head Start slots are $9,500 per child. So when we think about an integrated system of care for children, integrated programs for children, it is quite a bit more than the 125 that we generate. So our work really is to leverage, to partner, and collaborate. So this raises a really good question for us, is how do we bring First Five to scale, and what do we mean by scale? What does it mean to really move our programs from intensive, community-based, local programs to statewide programs that legislators and future administrations would want to pick up and pay for? So while all of our programs are highly valued, both by communities and by the children and families who receive those services. Very few, if any, and I would say that some of your programs in Sacramento actually do represent much higher scale than many other large commissions. So you do stand out as a commission that has really figured out ways from the very beginning to leverage your family strengthening and your oral health programs, certainly are more at scale than other communities. But without scale and spread across counties, and really across the largest counties, it's hard to demonstrate outcomes at a population level. It's hard to really ask for or expect statewide commitment, either in funding or support from the public. And we haven't, at the end of the day, built the systems that we were intended to build. So really starting to think about, and I think about, Commissioner Cerna, your comments about, the war stories with other commissioners, really understanding when you look at a commissioner from, for a colleague from San Joaquin, or Los Angeles or Orange County, sort of what are we all doing together so that when we go into the Capitol and we talk to administration folks and say, this is what we want to ask for, that we're talking in the same language and doing the same things. And this quote here down at the bottom, I won't read it, but is a quote from another commission's strategic plan that I like to note, which really is about if we continue to fund for those commissions who are more worried than I think than you have about doing that hard shift from direct services to policy and advocacy, if we continue to invest our $125 per kids on intensive programs without partnering, what we will end up doing is helping a relatively few number of children, including a relatively few number of the most vulnerable children, for a very limited time as our dollars go away. And working this way is really not about curing the system, it's about addressing, the problems directly in front of us. So policy engagement, I again just want to acknowledge, in many ways I'm talking to a commission that's converted and has led the way, but we do acknowledge when we think as an association, and we are doing some of this work now about sort of how do we engage all of the commissions to jump on this train with us. Many public agencies just simply aren't ready to take on the policy work. Some commissions are very wary about crossing the line into advocacy, and we need to do work with all of you to support that transition. But other commissions, and I speak really honestly as someone who used to work lead a commission in the Bay Area, a different part of the state, other commissions don't necessarily have the same needs because they have significantly more foundation support. And as a statewide association, it is really interesting to look at the differences between, a region of the state, whether it be Los Angeles or the Bay Area, that has significantly more private foundation support, and parts of the state, including the Sacramento region or the Central Valley, where simply you don't have that level of foundation investment in children 0 to 5. So it really does vary across the state. And of course, most importantly, we have lots of pressure to continue funding services, direct services from grantees and partners. So our job at the association and with all of you is to coach everyone to get engaged and find new ways to really describe and define the First Five story. So in the balance of my presentation, before we go to questions, I want to say that the role for local advocacy is one that you know well. Why does it matter that the association does its advocacy work with all of you and not just with a lobbying firm and a couple staff at the association, which is potentially a more typical way of doing it? Well, first, I do like to take this moment to remind you all that the association last week was 3 people. Today is 4 people. We've added a 4th person today. So very excited about that. She's onboarding while I'm here. So we are a lean and mean association, in part because the talent is really in this room. It is all of the First Five staff around the state and is the allies and the champions that are the First Five commissioners. But also, really, to go back to my slide, policy solutions come from the local level. And we'll talk about some examples before I close today. But the kinds of programs that you have innovated here in Sacramento and that other commissions have innovated across the state are the asks, the examples, the solutions that we're going to bring to the state level. We were intended to innovate these new ideas, to come up with more effective, efficient, diverse, collaborative solutions to the problems that children and families face. And then, of course, as you know, local constituents, program staff, and parents are more welcome in Sacramento than the usual lobbyists. They do a really good job. We have leaned on your commission tremendously in the last few years. Parents from your programs have presented at our town hall on our briefing on home visiting. They have presented at meetings around oral health funding. They obviously are very front and center in the ECE work that we've done. So So your parents, your programs, your partners are incredibly important. And I just want to say, take a moment to say, on behalf of the 57 other commissions, we all get it, we appreciate it, and we couldn't do it without you. So know that you can lean on us with the way that we lean on you. Tell us what you need so that we can do that work better. But more broadly, legislators and administrative staff, as many of you know, are very curious about First Five. And those of you who participated in Advocacy Day last year and this year, they are very curious to know what it is that we've been doing. They know how strong you are. They know how embedded you are in the life of your community. And when we go to schedule meetings now, as you all saw, we had 100 meetings this year. Last year we had 60 meetings. They all want to meet with their commissions because they hear about First Five from their constituents. So they really want to know what we're doing. And then finally, as program investors compared to other advocacy groups, and I think this is true across the board from early learning to health to family support, we are seen as credible because we put dollars on the table. So in things like ECE, where we work so closely with other advocates, we know that they may have a depth of knowledge and program functioning than we do, but we are credible because we put our real dollars out there in front. So what we have been, I want to talk a little bit about our policy agenda, which is very much like your policy agenda. I want to talk about why we do it the way we do it. We think that our policy agenda, of the many things that we could put at the top of our First Five policy agenda, the things that we have risen to that have risen to the top for us, which really reflects Sacramento's investments in many, many ways. There's some commissions that, we're sort of tweaking a little bit more, but we base our policy agenda on investments with evidence of success, often beyond First Five. So I give a couple examples of places where our local program evaluations may not have, 58 counties may not be able to show that these evaluations are there, but we know from external evaluations that what we're doing works. Such, for example, preventative oral health care education, the D2P2 program in Head Start leads to a reduced incidence of caries in kindergarten. That does not have to be a First Five program. We don't have to show our own program evaluation. We can show it because nationally we know that that kind of preventative oral health work reduces incidence of caries in kindergarten. That speaks a lot when we go into departments. Or increased ECE workforce development obviously supports higher kindergarten readiness levels. We have studies across the state. California may not be there yet on a standardized kindergarten readiness assessment. It's okay. We have evidence from across the country that shows that doing those kinds of readiness assessments and tying it back to EC investments shows that we're making a difference. We also have to have a policy agenda that's broad enough, and this is hard for some commissions, broad enough to create coalitions. So my example here is we talk about workforce development, and this is a place where we really have built bridges with the ECE advocacy world. We talk generally around workforce development, not around class trainings, right? And man, do we have to train ourselves better as advocates. We love to talk about ECHRS trainings and class trainings and all of these alphabet soups of ECE investment. Legislators want to hear that we're talking about deep investments in the workforce. And then, this is probably very true this year for us, we need to balance, and we can because we're First Five, we need to balance our systems building investments, the way in which we're growing a system, with direct asks for program investments. So our meetings with Department of Social Services last week were not around, could you fund home visiting? It was, how can we share data better together so we understand what your programs are doing, we understand what our programs are doing. That is, as Director Lightbourne said to us last week, that is working with, that doesn't cost additional dollars to his department or to our departments, but it does help us build the case for a program investment ask we may make in the future years. And finally, of course, we have to understand where the departments are. We have limited resources in every part of the children's services system here in California, and we have to make sure that we are making smart asks that tie our programs to the programs that they care about. And I gave an example on the slide about the question around childhood trauma. I would like to say that I'm sure this is true for those of you who took meetings last week. It was extraordinary. Every single meeting I took last week, or we had last week, they asked about childhood poverty in ways that they certainly didn't 12 months ago. And then, honestly, every one of my meetings I was in, someone asked about the Central Valley. So we need to understand that. There are places where legislators are looking to solve big problems. We don't have the cash to solve their problem, but we do have the expertise to help support them in their efforts. So really tying our work to the work that's top of mind for them in any given year. So I have a few more slides. I hope you won't mind. I think that Erin has, in many ways, and the team here at First Five Sacramento has helped us with this work. But we are reframing our First Five message, and this is about not talking about the 25% of kids that we serve, or the 100 million kids that have been touched by First Five, knowing that next year that number is going to be smaller and smaller and smaller, and when that is going down, we want to make sure that we're focusing on the things that are getting bigger and better and more statewide. So this one is a little bit of jargony, but I want to just point out there that many of you hear us talk about return on investment, right? Early childhood investments are good because they're a return on investment. We are wary about what we call inside baseball, the Heckman curve. This notion that investing early is just good because it's a higher rate of investment. Two reasons. One is because it's really abstract, because legislators aren't waiting for the return on investment, and sometimes the return is to some other department, not to the department that they're thinking about that day. And it really ignores our most powerful reason for being in the room, which is that we are improving children's lives. So I just actually got an email from a commission over the weekend. Help me understand the difference between the 12% ROI in one case and 7% ROI in another case. And I was like, we just don't go there. This is not about return on investment. This is about children living here in California whose lives, who need our support. Which is not to say we never use it. We're just careful when we use it. We stop obsessing about program evaluations. I just be really clear. I look at 58 counties' program evaluations all year long. It is really hard to marry those different, to figure out what an evaluation in one county compares to an evaluation in another county. Those big notions of, my First Five program did this is very hard to tell a statewide story. But things like the work that you're doing around results-based accountability, many commissions are coming back to this, understanding that we need to tie our program investments to broader outcomes, and accountability around shared indicators is really important. So much more helpful. I just want to say, as someone who started in First Five as an evaluator many years ago, parent satisfaction surveys, it's just not compelling in the Capitol. But what is compelling are compelling narratives. And so again, I want to give a shout out to the work that your commission has done. We have 2, I hope you've all seen the impact stories. We have 2 in our packet of 15 that are from Sacramento. Your African American infant mortality work and your oral health work, being able to come in and say, here's a story where you invested and we've made a difference in a program or a family's life. Those narratives are the ones that the legislators pull out, put on the desk, and keep, as they put the rest of the folder gets passed off to staff. Those impact stories, those compelling narratives of change really, really matter. So we're doing a lot of that work. We're utilizing our most powerful spokespeople, all of you. It's really important that you do the work that you do. And we are clear about where these disparities have emerged from, that choices have been made. And this is where I say, this is where we do come back to the investment question. Not on the return on investment, but you've chosen to invest in one area and not in early childhood. You've chosen to increase commitments in some other part of the system, not to early childhood. We are really clear with them on this. And then finally, we connect the dots. One more time, we connect the dots to current priorities. So child poverty and third grade reading are 2 that, again, we hear about all the time from other folks. Okay, I'm going to conclude with some recent policy successes, and this is where I bring it all back to sort of the work that you think you've been doing to the work that we say you've been doing. So you think you've been investing in clinics or oral health programs or CARES Plus or class trainings. What we say is that you've been investing in systems change all along. So I've got 4 quick examples. One, race to the top. Right? When California decided, and I know this was a partnership with your COE, but when the governor agreed to invest in Race to the Top and put in and apply for federal funding, many folks in the early education world and in the administration thought, that's nice, 17 different efforts, they will never get along, it'll just be 17 awesome experiments that will die a natural death. What this county and 15 other counties did was do the really hard work from really day one to saying we were all going to agree. And so that common matrix, which is really sort of that, this very wonky sort of system of thinking how we're going to grade and assess and compare programs, that the fact that they committed to a common matrix led to the statewide investment in in a block grant for preschool programs and in statewide adoption of a QRIS. There is lots more work to do on quality rating and improvement systems. There's lots of ways we can improve that, but we're going to be improving that together. It's huge. On oral health, again, as you all know, the work that First Five has done, and I looked at Commissioner Jones, he's been I see him at the Oral Health Advisory Committee meetings. It's been fantastic to have the leadership of this commission for so long, but what really turned the tide last year was when the state started to look for solutions to what they knew was an oral health crisis. They looked to commissions. They raised up the work that's happening in Sacramento and Orange County and a number of other commissions. And as you'll remember in the Little Hoover Commission, one of my favorite quotes ever, it made me realize the work we do is important work. 2 bright spots in California for children's oral health. It wasn't Dent-A-Cal. Federally qualified health centers and First Five. And that report and that quote alone changed the conversation in Sacramento, in the capital, about what oral health for children should be. And it resulted, as you all know, in First Fives being allowed to apply for the first time as lead agencies for the new 1115 waiver programs, which I think are being announced this week. This is so important. I know it may seem really wonky, but it means that the Department of Healthcare Services now thinks that First Fives can be recipients of federal and state funds. That's huge for us moving forward. Okay, finally, Help Me Grow. You've all made a big sort of shift, and I think you're applying right now to become Help Me Grow County. That's work to improve our early intervention systems. It's moving from programs for early intervention to systems of early intervention. It's going to be really hard work thinking, how do we move the state system from one that's relatively broken to one that's successful? And it was very important that when the California Department of Public Health had to put in its Title V block grant plan last year, they were asked by the feds to figure out what they were going to do on early intervention and to be meaningful and proactive, and they picked the Help Me Grow model because they knew that we had 12 counties ready to go to be part of a change system in California. So those are examples of where we thought we were doing programs, Help Me Grow, oral health clinics, CARES Plus and early care workforce development, but we understand that when 58 counties are doing them together, its systems change. I want to close with a caveat, though, which is that our family strengthening work, which is some of the most important work you've done here in Sacramento, really, really groundbreaking work with families and home visiting, they're still programmatic. We are not at a place yet where we have a systems ask, where we have a working together solutions ask, and where we have any glimmer of hope that there will be more funding for the programs that you all invest in as that funding declines. So this is really, really top of mind for us. How do we take the programs that we're all doing in counties across the state, I would say primarily the 10 largest counties, all of whom are investing in home visiting like Sacramento, and how do we turn that into a shared policy ask? It's going to be a lot of work, but I know we're going to do it. So I'm just going to say finally, summing up, we know that we have to have policy asks. We have to make sure that you all know that you can do this and it's legal to do this, and First Five has a responsibility to do this. We have to make sure our story is compelling and includes families at the table, and we have to have an ask when the time comes, because it might not be this year in a difficult budgetary year and with the threats against ACA looming, but there will be a time in the very near future where we will all be able to stand together and ask for additional funding for our kids, for our children and families in California. So thank you.
Thank you, Moira. That was very enlightening.
Thank you.
I know that there are a few of us that want to comment. I'm going to start, though. In your slides, you made note of it a few times in your presentation of the $215 per child figure going down to $125.
Yeah.
How much of that is actually attributable to population growth? Because there's.
Oh, we have had no change. We've had no change in births.
Okay.
I would suspect that when we hit our 20-year mark in 2 years, we will be basically still with the same number of births that we had since 1998. That being said, we need to do some of this analysis to really help counties understand their projections, especially with the dip that we're all going to take next year. That in some counties, like Alameda County, for example, that dip is much faster, much deeper because of the falling birth rate in Alameda County.
Right.
But you can go down to San Bernardino in the Inland Empire, and their birth rate is totally made up for that difference. So we're at the same number of births, but it has been reallocated across the state.
Okay. How much of the agenda of the association has been advanced in conjunction with or in cooperation with CSAC, if at all?
Such a great question. So first of all, I think that our relationship with CSAC was incredibly, always been very powerful and important. Most importantly, when First Five was threatened, right? During the years that we were threatened, sort of the first decade of our lives. And having that relationship with them was very important. Now, and I meet regularly with the policy staff over at CSAC, now we're really at a moment where they are hearing from their bosses that First Five is a valued, treasured program, and they're starting to understand what those cuts are going to mean for us. And so they're actually coming to us and saying, what areas of your agenda would you like to partner on? And I would say that what I'm sensing is that there are some areas like early intervention, home visiting, which are areas more of overlap with some of the broader Board of Supervisor agendas across the state. And so I think what we're recognizing is that we at the association have to get our house in order and present CSAC with some really interesting options. So that's one area. The other area, I just want to say, maybe I shouldn't even say it, but obviously new revenues that are flowing. And we have just started at the association 2 research projects to help advise commissions and their Board of Supervisor colleagues around local taxation, specifically around marijuana. So we know that that's a question that's coming up for folks, and so we want to be ready to have available information to Boards of Supervisors across the state, and then on the CSAC staff side, help them, train them up on some of these early childhood issues that they may not know as well, like home visiting or early intervention. But I think we're all going to be very powerful, partners in the year to come.
Thank you for the explanation. It's a good segue into kind of a comment slash question for you. We're all well aware of, whether you call it a slope or a cliff or what have you, the change in our revenue status,
right,
and what that means for kind of the new day of this commission and the other 57. But and maybe you did explain this in one way, shape, or form in your presentation, but are we taking the successes that we enjoyed in a more rich revenue environment and really carefully inventorying those successes, and I'll use Family Resource Centers here as the example in Sacramento, so that when we are broadcasting the message locally and statewide that we're not going to have nearly what we had local government, so hey, city of X and county of X, school district of X, here's where we've really had some programmatic success. Funding's going to either be severely curtailed or in some cases. We know it can continue to succeed. We just need to find a different way to fund it. Therefore, how do we kind of impress upon local government outside of First Five commissions to kind of pick up the charge, and so there's like a seamless transition of funding responsibility, quite frankly, so we don't skip a beat on those successes.
Yeah. No, I think that's so. You said it much more succinctly than I did. Our policy agenda is built on the notion that there are some things that we do that are more easily translatable to other funding streams than First Five. Obviously, oral health. Let's just move that over to Dent-Cal. The state should be paying. There's a variety. Our things fall into different buckets. But you mentioned FRCs, which is one of those things that I think is the most urgent issue when I work with the First Five executive directors around the state. I often say that's the last thing we're going to be funding. No one is going to offer to pay for that. It's the most difficult investment to find an alternate payer for. And that's why we have to do the really hard work with the FRC and the family strengthening staff across the state. And I feel like sometimes they don't quite get yet how urgent that need is for them to say, not just I love FRCs, but I love this thing in FRCs. Like, this is the thing. Because as those of you who work in other areas, you don't just say, I want more oral health money, I want reimbursement rates, or I want a prevention program, or I want slots for, increased reimbursement rates for family child care providers. You can't just say, I want more money. And FRCs are a challenge for us because we have yet to make that ask as clear as we could. But there's another thing that you said about who pays in the future. And I'll just say, we don't know yet who's going to pay. We hope that local governments will pick up some of it. LCFF should still be an opportunity for us, as Julie said earlier. But we also know that there is likely, this is California, there will likely be another initiative in the future that will try to raise funding for early childhood. Here's where we are at the association as we talk about it in the executive committee. We don't know that in every county, first 5 is the right place for future funding to come, but we do know, and this is where our partnership with CSAC is so important, we do know that local control is a compelling and essential part of any future funding scenario for early childhood. So what I think we're doing, Commissioner Sharna, is really demonstrating that the mechanism for distributing funding from the feds or the state or from a public tax, the mechanism of distributing funding for early childhood through local commissions in counties where that's the right way to go is the right thing to do. So that's how I have been approaching with potential other conversations that are beginning to happen around future funding, that we have firmly established, if nothing else, that local control funding and local flexibility is an essential part of building an early childhood system in California. I think that's where we know for sure.
Great, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Moak, then Commissioner Jones.
Thanks for your presentation. It was great and a little sad. And I can't wait for Dr. Wirtz to start in on, when you asked him to stop obsessing about program evaluation, he almost went into cardiac arrest. I don't know if you saw that or not.
And I knew, and luckily Steve and I, we
yes, I know, you guys are data homies, I get it.
Yeah.
So I'll let him take that part, those parts of my questions. Just a couple quick ones, and I think, how many first 5s left are still embedded within their county structure?
Oh, it's still half and half.
Half and half. And are you seeing, what are, I guess, just whether it's anecdotally or evidence that you're seeing, what are some of the pitfalls on both sides of that fence that you're seeing as it relates to where we are today?
Okay, great question. I love that question because it works in every way. But
I love my county people. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is not a
where are you going with this, Scott?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where we're going with it.
So I will say that the trend actually is into county systems, because those very small commissions, by which I mean the smallest 30, so those 30 small commissions, they need a home and they need a structure. And whether that home continues to be an external office or not is becoming increasingly less likely. When I presented to First Up California last week, they approved another round of, the State Commission basically brings all of the small counties up to a minimum allocation because the statute didn't do that. But what I reported was that 10 of the 20 commissions are staffed by a half-time employee. And 7 of the smallest commissions, the executive directors work without benefits. That is alarming for a public agency. These are public agencies with one half-time staffer and no benefits. So the way to ensure sustainability of an early childhood system, we would argue, is for the county government to feel full ownership of their early childhood system, which they do right now. But as that commission gets smaller and smaller, many are now looking to becoming part of either the County Office of Education or the Department of Health and Human Services. Mm-hmm. Because that half-time staffer within a Department of Social Services can then have the benefit of admin or benefits or an office with a copier, let's be clear. So there's that. But on the other hand, the larger commissions that are independent in the very large counties, Alameda, Los Angeles, Orange County, one of the continued benefit for some counties is that the flexibility of sending county funding through an independent agency allows for flexibility in staffing and contracting and makes First Five in many counties the effective, efficient local government that it is. So I always like to clarify for all of our executive directors, especially when we get new ones, regardless of the status of your commission as an independent agency or a part of county government, you are a public agency that has a member of the Board of Supervisors on it, and that is your most important relationship. The fact that we are part of county government in every way, whether we're independent or not, means that we are part of a public system, and that's fantastic. But acknowledging that there's going to, in a county like, very large county like Los Angeles or Orange County, that flexibility is really important, and increasingly, both sides are seeing that. Both the county side and this First Five side are seeing that relationship is a critical one.
Can I thank you for that. When back to the $215 to $125 per kid, are there any examples locally, nationally, statewide that you're seeing where scale is being achieved at let's just use that $125 per kid, where you're suggesting that scale, you use the word scale, I think, in your...
Yeah.
Where is that happening? What's an example?
It's happening with partnerships. That's the only way it can happen. So here's a great example. I was going to use oral health. I think it's one of our best examples of bringing things to scale. 15 years ago, we were literally paying for treatments for kids, right? And many counties were paying for things that the Denti-Cal paid for. But as we've moved to a full insurance system for all children insured, commissions have been able to understand that paying for that treatment was inappropriate, but paying for the care coordination was essential. So there are things in every system that our public systems don't fully pay for. And commissions are understanding that's where they need to be. So we are paying for navigation, care coordination, parent education, linking families, resource and referral. Increasingly, I think that's where First Fives are finding their niche, is making sure families are connected to all of the benefits, services, and resources that they need when they're vulnerable. And there are things that we can do better. I just want to say, like, the fact that we don't have 100% of every eligible child on CalFresh is a place where we haven't quite done that work yet. But we should be able to show the Department of Healthcare Services that Medi-Cal, that preventative care is used by every child in California because we're helping to link, or we should be able to show to the Department of Social Services and the feds that every child in California that's eligible is on CalFresh because we're helping make that happen. That's scale and spread.
Yeah. And then just a last comment, and I apologize for, I guess where having watched the expertise of the association over the last 10 years or so, I think that in this kind of extraordinary time that we're in, interesting and challenging time, I feel like, and we've talked about this now for a couple years, is the notion that we're going to have to, just by circumstance, have to get a lot more narrow than we've ever been before. That gives us the opportunity to dig deeper than we've ever dug before as well, right? So narrow isn't always bad.
Right.
It's bad for the people that were once funded and part of the breadth and now are no longer. But I just feel like as we go and we look at what truly sings to this commission, to this community, to the families and kids here, any help, guidance, coaching that you can give during the difficult time of us narrowing, I think that will be the most helpful, both from a community perspective to just psychologically on this panel of us where we've been able to kind of straddle topics 1 through 10,
right.
And now I think we're going to be where we're going to really hone in on item 5 and 6, and that's it. And that's hard. Like that's no joke. That is a really challenging, and I know you included some things in there, but I feel like just any support guidance you can provide on that will be helpful.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your sort of your faith in our work to do that together with all of you. I would say one thing though about that, because I do get this question when I present to commissions. The truth is, though, is that the true value of a First Five commission and staff is that I think what we have built over 15 years is expertise in what families and children need in a way that to be honest, other public agencies don't always have the freedom to do. From the very beginning, First Five has had this flexibility where their staff are, because they're not in a contract compliance mode all the time, the way other agencies have to be, because they're not overseeing contracts with a lot of state reports. I know it feels like a lot of state reports, but relatively not compared, just say the First Five staff compared to if you were sitting over in social services, your job's a lot easier on that scale. Because of that, we have expertise in our staff, especially in the large commissions, that is second to none for public agencies. So when I talk to commissions about what is the future of your staff, I say, you may think you have a family strengthening program officer who knows how to run a contract. I know that when I'm at a statewide family strengthening meeting, the First Five staff are the ones with the ideas, with the solutions, with the time to read research that no other agency has.
Yeah,
and so in every area where we invest, I think you'll find that your staff have a capacity far beyond managing contracts that I would encourage you all to think about as you think about the difficult choices
Subject
ahead.
matter expertise. No, I love that. That's good. Thank you.
Sure.
Dr. Jones.
Thank you very much. A great presentation. I really appreciate all you, the wealth of knowledge and experience you bring to the table every time you speak and present. I wanted to go, I don't have a developed argument here, but I want to go back to your notion, which I appreciate, of the local funding and local control, and balance that with this argument that we're bringing to the legislator about systems changes. And you spoke, and it's my experience with oral health, that there are regional areas where are struggling more than some areas. I think it's statewide, nationwide probably, but certainly the Central Valley. So I wonder how do you balance, are there opportunities perhaps for regional cooperation between the commissions, say in the Central Valley, to articulate a message about, especially with access to early childhood oral health?
Yep.
What do you think?
Yeah, here's a great example. So I'm going to give you a different example, not oral health, but I'm going to give you an early intervention example. So Help Me Grow, which I think you'll be learning a lot more about in the year to come. So Fresno was the third Help Me Grow in the state. They were part of the very early rollout, and they've done a lot to improve their early intervention system so that if you're a family with a kid with a developmental delay in Fresno, there's one number, and you know that kid's going to get connected to services. It's extraordinary. It doesn't happen in other parts of the Central Valley. So Fresno has been convening all of the commissions from the core Central Valley for the last year, and rather than establish 7 Help Me Grows in 7 counties, Valley Children's Hospital came to the table and said, we don't want to have 7 different ones either. We'd really like there to be one. And that's a big risk. I don't think you'd find other public agencies willing to say, oh yeah, we'll all work with Fresno's department. But that's what's happening. The 7 commissions are deciding we'll only have one Help Me Grow. First Five Fresno is going to be the only one that's going to get money to staff it. They're going to pay up for staffing, but we'll all utilize it and we'll set up shared systems. So we might even pay into it. And I think that those kinds of stories, as we develop them and share them with folks in sitting, making difficult decisions in the Capitol, I think that's going to be an example of sort of how we have shown that government can be done, at its best. So there's that piece. The other sort of example about the flip side of local control and the reason why local control is so important is a story I tell about my time at First Five San Francisco. And I'll just say very quickly, when I started First Five Sacramento and I got my portfolio and what we've invested in, I went to my very first association meeting and I met the woman from Tulare who's had exactly the same number of kids and the exact same amount of money as I did. And I was like, wow, so what do you invest in? I'm just curious. You're exact same size commission. Teenage pregnancy. Highest rate of teenage pregnancy in the state. They were investing almost all their resources in teenage pregnancy prevention in 2001. First Five San Francisco has never spent a penny on teenage pregnancy prevention because we don't have a teen birth problem because there have been other investments by the county public health department over the last decade. It wasn't an issue. So that's the nature of early childhood systems. I am so glad I was not directed by the state commission to put 20% of my money into a problem I didn't have. And I think those are the stories around First Five that I really want us to be able to tell as we talk to folks who may consider investing more in First Five, to folks who may think about long-term strategies for supporting early childhood systems, that's what we have shown, that you all identified the problems in Sacramento and addressed them head on. And they are different than the ones even down the street, in Yolo or Solano or Contra Costa. And so much better for the children and families of California. There are places where our work overlaps, and that's where we're going to make the funding asks. But don't tie our hands when we don't, because we're part of a system.
Good, thank you.
Dr. Kasiri?
Am I on? Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for the points that you shared. I really liked your focus on the strategies of partnership and policy, because a lot of times in public health, we find that that's where our strength is, that a lot of the problems that we're trying to address, we don't have all the answers. We definitely don't have all the resources, but when we partner, we're able to do that. And I really like the example you gave for the oral health, because that's a clear example that we've had in Sacramento County, where First Five has been a leader in bringing together all of the stakeholders to address some of the problems. I also wanted to refer to the comment you made about the FRCs and the problem with being able to sell the value. And I noticed that you mentioned very quickly something about the adverse childhood experiences. And in public health, that's kind of a new field that we're all beginning to realize the importance of. And I'm just wondering whether you can find some way of describing the need for the FRCs using ACEs and the importance of developing the attachment earlier in childhood between the parent and the child, and how much that can impact not just the immediate health of the child, but even some of the problems that we deal with later in life, like the chronic diseases.
Well, of course, I think you're exactly right. And I will say that the association is working now with a consortium of commissions, a small number of commissions, to develop some new messaging around adverse childhood experiences. I think we're still sorely lacking in the state with messaging that feels good, that focuses on resilience as well as help-seeking behaviors and reducing stigma. I mean, all of those things. It's like all of these threads we've had for so many years, both within the First Five and the public health context. And we need to figure out how to talk to families about it. We need to figure out how to talk to our providers about it. We need to do more training. And it may well be that there are pieces of the FRC work that we can bring to a funding request. And I think adverse childhood experiences and training on resiliency and training on working with vulnerable families is one of those. My comments around FRCs are, it's going to be hard to say to folks, we just need these resource centers and they just do everything, right? And so many times when I talk to FRC folks, they're like, well, it's hard to describe what we do, right? And as soon as a program person says to me, it's hard to describe how important it is, I'm like, okay, you got to figure out how to describe it, because I need something to work with. So it's not that I don't think FRCs are tremendously important, but I think that what you just did is exactly what we all need to do, is identify the ways in which FRCs are important and find funding streams that are going to support that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Turner-Johnson.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and I want to decouple a few things is all in it, and I also want to say at the outset, though, I want to preface it, because some of us, I think here, it is a sad picture that we have that we're dealing with, and you too, so that's why you're trying to work it through in a way that makes sense and has some strategic, impact. But I do want to say that shifting some of the focus to advocacy for sustainability is absolutely something that I think I certainly would support and underline. But I want to decouple a few things.
Sure.
In my career of over 40 years related to early childhood, every time there is a decrease in funding, we go through this same process. And one of the tenets of that always is that we shift it to who can pay for it, either can, or we think they can, or we give the numbers of how they can, or we pose that perhaps they can.
Yeah.
And I worry about that. I worry about it in oral health because I've been through many, many years of running programs that had money, specifically Head Start, and we never could get oral health always paid for. We were always shipping it out to dental clinics with students and so on and so forth, begging the Masons and so on and so forth. So I just want to decouple one point there. The thing about Head Start with 9,500, I mean, when you look at that compared to 250, everybody goes, well, But I just want to tell you that they don't begin anywhere in this country to meet the needed population. Now, I know that geographically shifts and all that, but I can tell you just for a little time tiny example. In the Bay Area, over, I think, it wasn't all 13 years that I was directing there, but in the Oakland area as the delegate, we did the Early Head Start program. I had 200 infants, toddlers, and pregnant women, and we were serving, and when I started, it was still half day, believe it or not, and so I had 200 half day, and we were not meeting 2% of the need.
Right.
Now, I don't mean to tell you that those are the statistics today. They're not. There's been a shift, demographic shift and all that, but I am saying that even with 600 and some in the delegate for the Head Start age, we weren't beginning to meet the need. I know that's still true. So even though, yes, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could afford that for every child that was not getting services elsewhere? Of course, it's a rather comprehensive program. But just to sort of throw that out when we don't look at whether that need's being met, we have, I think, here in this county, my perception is that we are funding some direct services to children that just aren't getting it any other way. They wouldn't be getting it from state, they wouldn't be getting it from Head Start because we're partnering in that regard. I mean, partnering and collaboration has always been a very long time strategy here. So another thing I just want to mention is I certainly am one that is a proponent of telling the narrative story. I've always liked qualitative better than putting things in numbers. Mm-hmm. But having run federal programs out of tax base and state, I know that we have to be accountable. We can't just say it was wonderful because the mother said the children have gone on X number of years in a longitudinal study. We have to be accountable. So the thing about it is that I remember with the federal programs, I'll just make one more comment about the federal programs, is that Helen Taylor was the head of Head Start, the program under HHSO. You knew her, a wonderful woman. And I can remember being a young director back there and her just pounding the table because she'd just come back from Congress and they had told her with the Comprehensive Child Development Program, which was the precursor to Early Head Start, there was not enough statistical information in the qualitative storytelling we were giving out of CCDP, which was innovative, and they were using in the bureaucracy a way to fight us in a former administration to not fund it. We almost didn't get Early Head Start through. So you just have to be careful a little bit with that, depending on where we're going with that, even though I support it. But I'm also savvy enough to know that it doesn't always get us money. People can play with us.
I totally agree. In case Commissioner Wirtz is next up, I just want to say this is what I think.
I'm sure he's going to comment on this.
This is what I think about it.
I'm certain of it.
You're good.
Let me.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I just want to get back to saying that I'm so delighted that you are talking about concentrating on child poverty, which of course with the social determinants of health means everything, every single part of our living, and on top of it, third grade reading, of course. I guess in essence, what I really want to say, I had so many notes when you were talking, I just kept writing things everywhere. One last thing is that with the entitlement of Head Start, which does pick up a lot, I wouldn't want to bet. It's been challenged before, and I wouldn't want to bet that it's not going to be challenged again in the current administration. So I just want to add that fact to what we're talking about, okay? Because it is one of the biggies. We can go, get them in Head Start. Well, we don't know. Right. Or we don't know it won't be cut, because that's happened too. Yep. So, I loved your issue of merging. I mean, we all tend to work in silos. I don't care what domain you're in. It's just what it is. But one thing I found out, and I speak as one of them, is that we EEC people, when there's money out there, we fight for it. We compete with one another, and we don't think about merging in the same way of sharing the funds either. So I take some guilt, or at least I'm part of that guilt, and doing that in a much more collaborative way, as Donna Shalala used to say, with medical homes and all, is a huge way of being more efficient. I guess my real final thoughts are that to think about taking away completely, I know you have to repackage your message. The only hope is to repackage, but it's got to be transitional. And that's, I know, the way we've been talking as a commission is even with the cliff. We're not talking about tomorrow suddenly doing everything differently. There's been a lot of wonderful work done here, and I would hate to see us just simply stop. I know I've got more notes, but I'm going to look at them.
Well, I would love to sit down with you because I just want to say one thing. First, I wasn't meaning to suggest we needed the Head Start slots. What I meant to say is we get asked all the time, how much money do you need? I mean, I get asked that question all the time, legislators, administration folks. So how much money does First Five need? And I used to be like, I have no idea. I've never totaled it up.
More than we have.
Sure. But, 9,500 is kind of a good number because it suggests, well, look at all the things you get. That's pretty much a lot of things. I wouldn't mind having that many things for our most vulnerable kids. But let me just say, I want to say one thing about the indicators because I really want to be clear about the difference between program evaluation and indicators. And I'm sorry, I know I'm taking a ton of time, but I do want to say this. We have 40 commissions that invest in family resource centers or family strengthening. 40 of them. Only 4 of them, Sacramento being one of them, so I feel like I can say this to all of you, only 4 of them say reducing abuse and neglect is one of their goals. And only one of them, no, 2 of them actually, Santa Cruz and Sacramento, can show a change in abuse and neglect rates for some period of time. I know it's a complex and always changing system. So imagine this, I've got 40 commissions who have been program evaluating their family resource centers for a really long time, and only a very few that identify the problem that we're trying to fix and track data for that. So I'm just saying, let's keep our eyes on the prize and track that data, population level data, and this is where I think, Steve, you and I would have a lot to agree on, that let's track the data that everyone cares about as opposed to some process measure that isn't as compelling. So right. I agree with you. I mean narrative and public data.
Yeah, one last thing is just this, that, whenever there is this kind of receding funding, and I'm talking about the way people perceive and critique what goes on with people's shifts of paradigm. When you start looking at people from the outside looking in and see that what we did, and I'm talking now from someone that may have been a recipient and deliverer of service, they go, oh, they're going to use their money now in what could be called administrative work. They don't necessarily see that we're doing system change. When you look at it in that way, I remember so often critiquing this way. So we need to be careful because, and speaking in terms of California, we aren't exactly at the top of the list in terms of and I would hate for us to become less.
I agree.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Wirtz.
Thank you. Moira, I am impressed with your presentation. I think the focus on policy and systems change is obviously necessary. I'm going to make one statement that when I first started getting involved in First Five, which was at the beginning of it, I was there along with many others pushing for systems change on day one. And we, in fact, included fluoridation, for example, on the oral health piece on day one. And we've now done the and both. We need systems change and we need program integration and services there. But I just want to say that in addition, my favorite spending that First Five has ever done is the $25,000 out of our $25 million that we put into baby-friendly hospitals.
Exactly.
So now we have what, 2 or 3 or 4, or all 4 of our hospital systems are working toward baby-friendly changes. And that was, I pushed and shoved and argued for that $25,000. And so I just want to say that I'm a public health person first and foremost, and we know that you make changes across the system, and if you don't make policy changes and if you don't make systems changes, it's hard pressed. You're always going to be pulling people out of the stream and never moving upstream is our metaphor. So I want to applaud you and just want to work with you, and our sustainability committee can learn much from you and vice versa as they go forward. So I wanted to stress that. Then to the data issue, I want to first and foremost thank Scott for being on our evaluation committee for so long, and David and Christina, and say that I think we've done a good job of doing the and both. That I've always argued that in the logic model of making results-based accountability and having outcomes, if you can't show that your program did what you said it was going to do, then no matter what the outcome is, you can't take credit for it. if you haven't shown that you did what you said and it was moving toward that solution, you can't take credit for it. So that's an important piece. But we have always argued, I think the Evaluation Committee has been very clear that its goal is to look at how is this affecting the population level aspects. And I think our committee has been focused on that a lot, and we're very proud of what's happened in school readiness in terms of evaluations there, showing that schools kids are better prepared when they've gone through first 5 than when they haven't. And of course, with our broad Strengthening Families, Birth and Beyond programs, it's been a pleasure seeing over the years the data continue to flow and better be able to document the impacts on child maltreatment and on family well-being. So I think we're totally on the same page there. We need to have those population level indicators, and at the state level, I work on those population ones. And just to let you know, First Five partnered with the County Board of Education and Health and Human Services Secretary Dooley to say we need to have common data indicators. And we have been trying to meet that need as well. So so 2 final points. Yep. One is I want to ask you whether or not you have seen a way that we can push across the state, I've been pushing it locally, how we can make our families aware of the opportunity for the early income tax credit. I think we just need to have more and more public awareness of that, and I think First Fives can be a good way to do that, and we have some history here with some of our family resource centers doing that can actually provide some concrete skills on what you need to do to pull that off. But I think that would be a valuable thing for the association to put out fairly quickly, even if it's just a notice saying, if you get a chance, partner with people that are doing that. If I understand right, in Sacramento County, one family resource center brought back to its community, just one last year brought back $200,000 to their local community on helping them fill out those forms and bring that money back to them. Amazing. And I understand that the Sacramento overall brought in over $1 million through those volunteer efforts. So that's a source of funding. The second source of funding is the CalWorks piece. And Julie, if I'm right, you told me what was the number of money left on the table?
$3.2 million.
$3.2 million of CalWorks funding support for our families that we aren't drawing down. And Angela Ponovas at the Office of Child Abuse Prevention and I presented on poverty and CalWorks at the First Five Summit, and we understand there's something like $1 billion unspent in California from CalWorks not being drawn down. So just opportunities for sustainability to look at those as well. But again, I really appreciate your leadership and to help on this transition to the systems and program piece, which we've hopefully been doing some of all along. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I will follow up with you on an EITC webinar. I think it's timely. We should do that for all our commissions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Moira. And just one last suggestion.
Yes.
I know that you have a number of legislative initiatives that you're focused on, but I hope one of them certainly is working with one of our local assembly people, Assemblymember McCarty.
Yes.
He and I have been talking. We talked last session about the prospect of him carrying legislation that would pursue some changes that would require counties that don't currently have standard death reporting protocols to have them. You mentioned it briefly, the Reducing African American Child Death initiative here in Sacramento County. That all stemmed from having that data available. And I will just say that if other counties don't have that the data or don't have the ability to gather that data, it's never going to impress upon someone to ask the question, what are you doing about a systematic disparity problem in your county? So I think it's incredibly imperative that something along those lines be pursued legislatively, and certainly with the assistance flanking of the First Five Commission.
I think our commissions would be very eager to support an effort like that.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, next item, please.
Item 5, public hearing, review and adoption of the audit for fiscal year 2015-16.
And we have a representative from our auditing firm, Carly Ransom, will join us today.
just heard from her on a
Yes.
different agency earlier this morning.
Hello, my name is Carly Ransom. I'm with Vavrinick Trying Day & Co., and we are the external auditors that did the financial statement audit for the Commission for fiscal year 2016. So at the end of the audit, we issue our audit reports that gets stuck into the financial statement package. So what I was going to do is briefly go through those and the outcome of the audit for this year. So the first report in the basic financial statement packet, it's on page 1. It's the independent auditor's report. This report goes over the scope and the results of the audit. Management of Commission is responsible for preparing the financial statements, and our responsibility as the auditors is to provide an opinion over those financial statements as to whether or not they accurately reflect the financial position of the Commission. So if you look down to the opinions paragraph, this is really the conclusion on the audit. And it says that the financial statements referred to above do present fairly the financial position of the Commission. So in other words, the Commission received a clean opinion. There was no significant deficiencies that we noted or misstatements in the financial statements that we were provided with. If you turn to the back on page 29, as a part of government auditing standards, we're required when we do an audit to get an understanding of the internal controls in place at the Commission. And these are internal controls over financial reporting. So what mechanisms are in place at the Commission to make sure that transactions are getting prepared and recorded accurately, transactions are being reviewed, reconciliations are being performed. We don't give an opinion on internal control, but if we had noted deficiencies during our audit, this is where we would be communicating those. So if you look to the bottom paragraph, it notes that we did not identify any deficiencies that we considered to be material weaknesses. So there was no deficiencies identified as part of our audit. And in the other packet, the single audit report, since the Commission does receive federal funding, over $750,000 in federal funding, the Commission is required to undergo an audit of the federal funding. So as part of this audit, we look at the expenditures of federal funding to make sure that it's being used appropriately and that other federal guidelines are being met. And when we do this audit, we use an audit guide that's put out by the federal government, by the OMB, and it gets updated every year. So we use the 2016 version as part of our audit. So on page 3, our independent auditor's report on compliance for each major federal program. If you look to the bottom, the opinion on each major federal program, we noted that the Commission complied in all material respects with the federal compliance requirements that are or is related to this funding. So as a result of our audit, we did not note any deficiencies or anything that needs to be continued or communicated. We want to thank Julie and her staff for all your help in providing everything that we needed for the audit, and we look forward to working with you again.
Okay, any questions? Okay, great, thank you. This is a public hearing item. It's the public's opportunity to address this commission on the review and adoption of the audit for fiscal year 2015-16. Seeing no one at the podium, ask for a vote. Let's do a roll call vote. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Jones. Second. Second by Commissioner Gordon. Roll call vote, please. Oh, Mr. Wartz.
I'm sorry, this technicality for me. Is there, can I just get confirmation that the Finance Committee reviewed and is in line with this?
Yes, this went through Financial Planning Committee, and they did review it and approve it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor with a second. Roll call vote, please.
Dave Gordon?
Aye.
Beth Hassett?
Aye.
Terrence Jones?
Aye.
Olivia Kasiri?
Aye.
Paul Lake?
Aye.
Scott Moe?
Aye.
Phil Cerna?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Very good, thank you. Next item, please.
Item 6, Approve funding to support contractors during a Medi-Cal administrative activities feasibility study.
All right. Staff and the Financial Planning Committee are recommending that the Commission approve the expansion of our current MAW program to conduct a 15-month feasibility study that would require some additional contracts, but that would result in perhaps bringing in as much as $500,000 to the Commission in leveraged MAW dollars. The Commission currently generates about $1 million per year in MAW revenue. $800,000 comes through our Birth and Beyond programs, and then the remaining $200,000 comes through staff time studying and being able to draw down MAW through First Five Commission. As you know, beginning in our new strategic plan on July 1st of 2018, the Commission expects to reduce its annual expenses by about 20%. And as a result of this decrease in available funding for the next strategic plan, leveraging and sustainability have become key important factors. And the Commission and FPC are requesting that we look at 6 additional contractors who could potentially be billing for MAW, and to set them up during the current strategic planning cycle, so that we could have at least 12 months of time in which to have to study and see how much money they might generate. We would have a full 4 quarters worth of data, and we would actually be drawing down money during this next fiscal year.
Excuse me, Joe, I need to interrupt. I believe our attorney needs to make a statement about potential conflicts here.
I believe there are several potential conflicts of interest with this item, and that it would be appropriate to announce those at this point.
Okay.
I'm very sorry.
So if you have a conflict, if you could please state your conflict and step away from the dais.
Commissioner Gordon, I think you need to state the conflict before you...
Oh, I can say?
No, you need to state what the conflict is.
Oh.
Oh.
Yes, my agency, the Sacramento County Office of Education, is the recipient of some of these funds.
Okay, very good. Any others?
Paul Aiken.
I'm advised by counsel that I also have a conflict of interest.
Okay.
I recuse myself because I work for DHHS, which is one of the contractors.
All right. Anyone else?
I apologize, Commissioners. I didn't think ahead to look at that, but...
You were trying.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and I think one of the reasons I wasn't thinking about it is because the First Five wouldn't necessarily directly be funding these agencies. This is money that the $120,000 would be going to Health Reach or one of like Paradigm, which is the database system. We'll be going out to different contractors to set up the claim plans, review the time studies, and basically allow these agencies to start claiming MAW funds. But what it could mean for the next strategic plan is that these 6 agencies may indeed receive less of a cut from us, because if we were going to say, if they had a $50,000 contract for next year, and we look, and it looks like they're able to draw down $20,000 worth of MAW, then they could receive the $20,000 of their MAW money, which would reduce the amount of the cut that they would take from us for the next strategic plan. So again, this isn't talking about contracts with these agencies for the current year to draw down money. Whatever money is drawn down this year would essentially be held by First Five, and then we would use it to offset cuts for the next strategic plan period.
Commissioner Sneeringer.
So just to clarify, it would add to your total dollars that you could then allocate.
Correct. By $500,000 is what Health Reach is estimating right now. But before we set up the contracts and do all of that, we wanted to see how much this would cost the commission and we think it's between $10,000 and $20,000 per agency to set them up, and then the reality of how much they would actually be drawing down.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Moak.
Yeah, I mean, I think my question was going to be the same. Just so spending 120,000 to net 500 is, I'll take that any day.
Sure.
I just also, I think this should also be a moment where we plug the organizations that have been doing MA and growing money for us and for themselves and for this cause for a decade or more.
Yep.
Because it is no joke. If for anyone that's been involved in a MA time study, it is excruciating. And so kudos to those who are willing to do that. I guess when they gave you the estimate of 500,000, was that their ceiling? Was that their base? Or was that somewhere in the middle?
I think it's somewhere in the middle. They said roughly WIC could potentially bring in $150,000 a year in MA funding. The Smile Keepers program, the same. So that's a significant chunk of change. Not quite as much for our cultural broker programs. They see fewer people, but for an agency that's struggling, $20,000 to $30,000 is significant, and that's like a part-time advocate. Sure. And so I think I give these agencies props because they've stepped up and said that they're interested in doing this, and that we have this ability to draw this money down, and that it's worth it. It's worth an investment, a one-time upfront investment from First Five, to see if we can make this a lasting sustainability option. And definitely, I believe the Sustainability Committee would back us on this.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
No, sir.
Commissioner Jones?
I welcome this. I think this is a great opportunity to, provide more funds available to the community, to our families, to our children. It is a 15-month feasibility study, and I think that's a great idea. If it doesn't work, we can, tweak it, make sure we understand some of the concerns of the providers, and make sure we address it. I think it's certainly from the Smile Keepers program, I welcome it. I think if you can extend the good that it does to the community, and in the process of funding it, get an additional $120,000 to help sustain it, it's a no-brainer. Thank you very much for bringing it up. It's a great idea.
Welcome.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I don't have any public speaker slips, so I'd entertain a motion at this point.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Been moved by Director Moak and seconded by Director Sneeringer. Roll call vote, please.
Since there's a conflict of interest, Donna Sneeringer will be voting for Dave Gordon, and Terry Porter will be voting for Paul Lake, and Kathy Cossack is not here today to vote for Dr. Kasiri.
Okay.
Dave Gordon, Beth Hassett?
Aye.
Terrence Jones?
Aye.
Scott Moak?
Aye.
Phil Cerna?
Aye.
Donna Sneeringer?
Aye.
Terry Porter?
Aye.
Pass.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next item, please.
He's going to go get him.
Go ahead and read next item. I'll read next item. Okay, next item is the Financial Planning Committee update.
We have Beth Hassett's going to do the highlights on this because Kathy Cossack is out today.
As you have heard, we reviewed the audit report, which was received with no findings, and we also recommended the approval of the MA expansion project. In addition, we reviewed the financials through 5 months and found them to be in line with past years at this point in time. And finally, we discussed the matters that were brought up at the last commission meeting regarding the Prop 56 dollars and a proposed step down of the reductions for contractors. And our recommendation is that we hold the Prop 56 dollars that we earn up until we develop the 2021 strategic plan, which will allow for a 30% reduction as opposed to a 37% reduction in that next plan. The only caveat was that we may want to open up the 2018 strategic plan to address a possible repeal of the Affordable Care Act, should that occur, and potentially spend some of those Prop 56 dollars within the plan that we're still working on. So if that happens, Julie would coordinate with the work group to bring us together and rehash the strategic plan. So we recommended maintaining the commission's current position on the cliff strategy as opposed to implementing a step-down plan, which might negatively affect contractors in the long run.
Okay, does that conclude your report?
Yep.
Very good, thank you. Any questions? Okay, if not, evaluation?
Thank you. I brought my strategic plan work group notes, not my evaluation ones, so I apologize. But in general, we heard our updates from our evaluation contractors, as we always do, and we spent the bulk of the meeting looking at reviewing the evaluation report that's coming forth and looking at the changes that we had proposed before and finalizing our suggestions to staff and contractors.
Great, thank you. And now, strategic plan.
All right, back at it here. So we met last Thursday, and we also discussed the impact of a possible repeal of the Affordable Care Act and the effect it might have on children and parents. And we determined that while there's much speculation about what the administration might do, there is no plan and we have no information. Possible impacts are the increased access to medical homes result area. For now, we're going to keep it as a system result rather than changing it back to a service result area. And the plan is to watch and wait, and should there be information about what's happening with the ACA, we may need to reconvene and come back together, and Julie will let us know if we need to do that. And finally, we also discussed the Prop 56 funds and agreed with what the Financial Planning Committee suggested, leaving them be and waiting to see what happens with the ACA and potentially reducing the cliff for the 2021 plan. We got feedback through 5 community input sessions around the county that were targeting parents who had not used First 5 services. And overwhelmingly, parents agreed with the goals and result areas that we've outlined in the draft strategic plan. A lot of them were disappointed they hadn't known about First 5 services and certainly wanted us to continue to get the word out. And then finally, the work group approved a draft of the strategic plan with some minor modifications that staff is going to make this month. It will come to the commission for review and comment in March, and then it will go to the Board of Supervisors for review and comment, and we're anticipating a final draft for approval in either May or June.
Great, thank you.
And can I just comment?
You may.
It was a very good meeting. We zipped right along and got a lot done. And I want to thank Julie and her staff for all the work they do behind the scenes, just to talk to the contractors, explore different opportunities. It's very nice when it's playing out in a collaborative way rather than 8,000 comments during a work group meeting, so we actually could get the work done because everybody was so well prepared. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. Okay, sustainability.
We also met this past month, and you heard a lot about our activities as we debriefed on the town hall convening, what went well, how we might structure things differently next time, because we thought it was a worthwhile effort and look forward to doing it again. We also were very active in the advocacy day and trying to think through how we could best support the efforts of our association, and we're all really excited to attend the Champions for Children event, and I think that had a good opportunity to meet with our colleagues around the state. And I am fortunate that I get to work with Moira on a pretty regular basis on a lot of early childhood issues, but it's nice to be able to connect with her on a broader scale with the work that we're doing here. And I know she's very appreciative of the ground that we're laying to get more involved in policy efforts. Location, location, location. It's helpful to have us at the table. We started our work on our systems sustainability plan. As you all know, we are doing a sustainability plan that will be in tandem with the next strategic plan, and we are working with ASR. We identified policy result areas from the strategic plan, and we started mapping out 3 objectives: policy change, public will, and financial resources. So we're going to continue that work at our next meeting. I think they had hoped we would get through all 6 items, and we got through 3-ish because there was very rich discussion, and I think that we had a lot of need to really think through what it would mean to do policy work on some of these areas where we have identified them as a policy goal for many years but haven't actually taken action steps. So I think that's why it was taking the amount of time it did. And we're also at our next meeting going to start looking formally at legislation. Bills are being introduced as we speak, and it's our hope to be able to start to make recommendations to the Commission and look at pieces of legislation that support our strategies as well.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, last item is Commission member comments. Any commissioners to my right have anything to share before we adjourn? To my left? All right, if there's no further business before this commission, we are adjourned.